This is Leah Foley and from Australia, and we're talking about unraveling physical pain. It's yes, we were unraveling technology just now.
Oh my God. I need a whole process just to learn how to do that.
But that's okay. So if you're just joining us, this is the Global Party Healing on All Levels, and this segment on unraveling of physical pain is a really awesome one. So I'm just skipping your song at the moment, Leah, in the interest of time, and get right into the nuts and bolts of it. How did you, because I see your background, and that's exactly what I think of. I think of pulling a thread and wanting it to, one circle at a time. How did you begin to realize that you could actually unravel somebody's physical pain so they were pain-free?
When did I realize? I think it was over 10 years that this whole process sort of came together, and the first real experience of it, like I'd started learning kinesiology, alternative therapies, and starting to realize that there was more than just maybe physical manipulation or physical medicine or cures to deal with physical symptoms.
Right.
And when I was at the Vipassana meditation, it was a 10-day silence retreat where you're just meditating for 11 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, I started, you feeling parts of the body, and I started to feel inside, and I could start to, I was playing with it a little bit because you don't have much to do in that whole time. You're just having an internal experience. And then my hips started unraveling. And by that point, I'd started learning some kinesiology techniques. So I knew that was possible, but it was just happening when I was putting my focus and attention on it, and certain maybe intentions that I was putting on it. They started happening. And so I left that retreat open. Like I had this inkling that there was something there, but I didn't know how to access it fully. And it was just basically playing different experiences over the 10 years. And I think I got to January this year, and I just went, okay, I have this course I want to build. I need a physical, I got emotional unraveling technique. I need a physical one. I just put it out to the universe, the guides, my higher self, whoever. I was like, help me. I want something in a week's time because I'm kind of over holding this in the back burner. And in that week, I started getting pain, and I started playing with it. And I realized that they'd actually given it to me back in July or August. I'm a bit slow sometimes when they give me messages, and I'm like, oh, they give me songs, and I'm singing them for a week. And then I realize when I start getting annoyed, oh, there's a message. I'm sorry, the words are wrong anyway. And once I realize the message, the song stops. I always think my guides are behind me smacking my head or shaking their head, just going, oh my God, just catch on. But they gave me that technique through a series of experiences, and that's how, and I started playing with it, and I thought, okay, well, the next thing to do is to see if I can replicate that in other people.
Right.
And so in January, I started that, and it's just been going for the last 5 months. It's been a very interesting experience.
And so physical pain is usually a symptom of something deeper, right?
Yes. But it's just a symptom, right? And the only thing that's activating that pain is your own nerves. Mm-hmm. So if you were like, say, quadriplegic or whatever, you wouldn't even feel that. You wouldn't have that experience. It's totally your peripheral nervous system and your brain just creating that to tell you something's not quite right.
Right.
And it could be a variety of things, but a variety of reasons why that might be. Mm-hmm. But it's just telling you it's not right. Something's not right. And then what we normally do is go, oh, I don't like that. I'll just pill or distract myself or something. When I think what it really wants you to do is put your attention on it and be with it, and maybe even listen to it. It's kind of a little bit abstract to say that, but yeah, just be and listen to it. And it's kind of like a relationship, right? Like someone is acting up, but I read somewhere recently, like what you argue about is not actually what you're arguing about. It's usually something deeper, and you just have like a real deep way to connect back to someone is to just go, what's really going on, and sit with them and listen. And it's kind of the same with your body, similar relationship.
So you're actually helping someone to connect with their pain as if it's, in a sense, something separate that they can, like with the analogy of a relationship, right? So it's like, you know, I'm going to connect with you and say, what the frig, man? No. What
Well,
are
maybe
you
not
doing this for? No.
Something like, I'm willing to hear what you have to say right now. It's probably a better way to put it without getting more trigger. Yes. Yeah, it is kind of like that. And I think that's what I've noticed, because for me personally, when I did the technique, it was quite a silent experience, and you'd feel tremors happening somewhere, and then on the other side, you'd feel like pulsation and then energy moving out and things like that. And when I started working on people and seeing whether they would get the same results, I noticed some people would get stuck, and then it would be like, well, what does your body want to do? Or what? They go, oh, I noticed emotion coming up. I said, how could you express that? And I was just kind of playing, but it turned out to be the thing that I probably most wanted to do that I didn't know I wanted to do. And yeah, and just having people express certain things, or shake, or like their body actually wants to stretch, or their body wants to be moving again, and shake that energy up. Or someone needs to say something like, I've had a couple of people say, I hate you. They've had to say that to someone, or they never got to express that perhaps in the past, and now they got that time. And whatever that, I don't know, I call it a wound, or sometimes I call it the elephant. It's like the elephant inside of you.
In the room, yes.
Yeah, the elephant in the room, and the body is trying to rearrange around this elephant. But when you finally let the elephant go, then the body can just go back to normal, because it's always trying to balance out, and it has that self-righting mechanism, but it's not aware enough to know that that elephant's in the way, you know.
Right. Yeah, well, it's kind of like if you, in feng shui, right, in someone's house, sometimes they're super attached to this one object that you can see they're rearranging their whole house around this object, and hence if they just released and let go, the flow would be created, right? It's very you can see it's like a symptom in that space. So as you're guiding people, right, and they're discovering, and you said they might shake it off, right? Like, do you play I like to play what's her name's song. I don't know what her name is now. You know, shake it off, whatever cool is.
Is it a hater song or something?
Taylor Swift.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Taylor Swift.
I lost you on the sound. There you go.
Can you hear me?
I can, because it helps when the ear piece falls out.
So shake it off.
So you can shake it. I shook it right off. Or yelling, right?
Yes.
Sometimes yelling, facing that anger.
Yes. Yeah, and some people get really embarrassed by that, because, you know, who wants to be, like, most people come to the session not knowing, and I don't know either, whether the person's going to need an emotional release, or sound, or some kind of physical movement. But I try to do it with them, and we close our eyes so they can have that moment. But it can be quite embarrassing to have that. And I know that from experience. Like, before all this, I did a few little things like tigress yoga, breath work, and things like that. And I was in classes where people were screaming their heads off. They were uninhibited, going for it. And I'm like having little moments, because I couldn't fully release. But it's like, it's something you build up to, just having that freedom to allow yourself to move and express how you know, in that moment. And I think that that's my theory, you know, like, it would come with time whether this is something quite solidified. But in that moment where you had an injury, or that mysterious back pain, or mysterious something pain, did something happen that you weren't able to fully express or feel or give yourself permission to? Did you avoid something inside of yourself? And then that solidified, and then the body started compensating around it, you know, trying to balance around this elephant again. And then in that releasing, you let that go, and then suddenly the body's like, oh my God, like the thing was in the way and I couldn't get around it. It's just like, anyway, that's my theory behind it, because that's what I'm working backwards. I'm back engineering this, where I'm noticing people's healing, or I'll go, what's the pain now? And they go, it's gone from 3 down to 1 now. And it's like we're always referencing a rating of a pain, or the pain's changed now. It's gone from an aching now to a heat, and things like that. And we're always, if it's shifting, we know that's good, and if it's not shifting, we know we haven't got the right thing. And it's kind of like talking to a mute person, like your body, because you're like, what does it want now? And you're trying to, it's like the 20 questions. Do you want this now? Do you want that? And or suddenly, like, they'll go, oh, this memory came up. And I'm like, okay, good. Let that be there. Keep feeling those parts, keep breathing, everything. And then they're like, I feel really, I don't know, angry or frustrated. It's like, okay, what's a noise we can make to express that? And and then suddenly they're like, yep, it's shifted. And I'm like, okay, good. I don't even know myself. I'm just like working with it. But it's good. I think it's good because they actually get to know themselves better. They start to develop that relationship with their own body. And I think that's important because, they can't keep relying on me. They can't keep calling me up. Everything's it's a relationship they need to develop themselves.
Yeah, it's like you said, if you're in a partnership with somebody and you're having a relationship, you've got to find that, sweet spot in your relationship where you're feeling comfortable versus having to rely on someone else. Have you ever had that experience where, like, you just tell people, like, not to accept it? You know what I mean? Instead of going inward, saying, like, can you just let it go? Are they willing to just shh?
Like, I do say during the technique, I try to keep saying during the whole process, not needing to fix anything, just letting it be there, and I feel that, and then I think also breathing, I think they are kind of similar, because you're no longer with this attachment to get rid of it, because it's funny, like, that desire to get rid of it actually separates you from it, as if it's an entity that you got to eradicate, but it's your own body having a response telling you, I'm not happy. So I feel like it's kind of like that. I don't say, like, I'll just let it go, maybe because they don't understand that at that point,
right?
Like, not to, like, define yourself by this pain, or that this is me now. And so, but I feel like it's similar in that I just say, well, no need to fix it. Just let it be there. It's just a sensation. It's like when I do the emotional one, it's like, it's just an emotion.
Yeah.
Anger is just anger. It's just what you make it mean. And it's the same with the pain. It's like, pain is just pain. And people go, oh, but it could be something serious. And it's like, well, there's a lot of silent, like, diseases, you could say, like, symptoms that you can't see and that are quite deadly, can be quite scary for people, or things can go terribly wrong, I mean. And so, like, the symptoms don't actually mean reality of how serious something is. And it's to know the difference between that. There's some diseases that, like fibromyalgia and things like that, where it's quite painful for people.
Right.
But there's nothing actually, the doctors can't find anything. And that's where I suspect that there's probably an emotional cause or something else, because the doctors are looking at just physical things. That's the way that their model's set up.
Right.
And so that's another thing I'd like to share. Like, if you have a mysterious pain, it's most likely not physical. Like, if you have an accident and you get pain, you know that that's the cause. But if you have something afterwards and it's mysterious, comes out of the blue, then you might need to look deeper. You might need to look a little bit left field on what that might be about, rather than thinking, I just need to get rid of this pain and go see a chiropractor, or, just crack it, or manipulate it or something. Anyway, yeah.
So you have had the experience where just that, since our body is not a mechanical structure, like, you know, science wanted to say, you know, decades ago, is that somebody, let's say, could have a pain in their shoulder, but their pain in their shoulder might be totally related to something else other than, you know, that there's actually maybe even a release going on in some other part of their body also, as well as the pain dissipating in the shoulder. Is that right?
Yes. And so, like with the shoulder thing, I remember this is before I did this technique, but I was doing kinesiology and I was just starting to practice on people. So my friend came and I was working on a shoulder. We did all the techniques. She's still there, but I was, you know, it was coming up. And then suddenly this emotion came up. I think it was sadness or grief or something. And I said, how are you going with your ex that you just broke up with? And she's just like, oh. And then because he'd left her and gone traveling the world without her, and she'd carried on, you know, soldiered on. And then this mysterious shoulder pain came, and like this all unravels as you get to the end. But then she started crying, so of course they get the tissues and we just let it happen. And then she goes, oh, by the way, the shoulder pain's gone. And I'm like, oh, okay. And there was kind of those experiences where you're like, really? And it's not saying that every pain is emotional cause,
right?
But, you know, it can be. It could be something like that. It could be something you don't even, I think she denied, she didn't want to think about him leaving. So she didn't ever make that connection because she was trying to keep it out of her mind. And then the shoulder's going, hey,
right.
Look at me. I'm unhappy. You're unhappy. Something, you know, there's something that needs to be expressed or released. And when she expressed it, it was like, oh, it's done. Shoulder pain gone, you know. Yeah, and so your body is a whole unit. It's not just a structure. And it's like I have things where I'm feeling pain. I oh, my shoulder's out, and I'll be feeling it. And something will happen in my little toe, and I'm like, part of me goes, yeah, I get energy, yes. But the other part of me goes, logically, like, how's the toe connected to it's like the toe's connected to the bone. Yeah, it goes up. But it really is. There's this whole other thing going on, and there's physical, there's energetic, there's emotional, there's your mind, there's all sorts of things, and there's interactions with other people. There's so much more that we could open up to of what really is going on, and using the pain, the things that are happening in our body to give us that reflection too.
Yeah, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, so if I'm looking at your backdrop. So if the pain is the center, and if somebody is unaware or turning the cheek and saying it's minor, you know, that it's like each circle that goes around it, it's like things get piled on top until it becomes more severe. So the severe, to the point where they go, okay, now I need to do something. But way back when, if they were aware, it was just a tiny little experience.
Yeah, it's really like a little pain. And then as it kept, all these little things started happening, creating this pattern. By the time it gets to here, it's like, oh, it's really hurting me now, and maybe I should do something about it. But it was probably giving you kind of like how they were showing me that this technique was months ago. It was like, I showed you before. Do we have to give you pain to get you to realize that this technique is here?
No. No.
It's like, okay, I get it. Yeah, and it can be like I had someone I was working on the other night, and he had an injury, and he was really good about it. He went and saw physio. He let it rest. He didn't go to sports class for months, but he still had that pain. It's healed. He tore something and it's healed. And we worked on it, and he had the knee pain, and then the back showed up. And then the back needed to unravel, and then the glute showed up. And then that needed to unravel. And when that unraveled, it all just, he goes, oh, it's gone now. And for people who have an emotional, see, he didn't have any emotional stuff about it because he just, I think he was quite mindful with his body, but there was some structure that he needed to notice, this connection between them. Whereas I need to have that emotional release first, and then it can start to unravel.
Yeah, so it's somebody who's used to going to the doctor to get a fix, right? Or say, look, there's my arm. What's the issue? They go, here. I mean, I had a situation because my kids were raised off the medical system, and Faith did something to her knee in soccer. And she was, you know, and my thing is really, I would say, like, don't accept it. Like, you know, in the sense of first let it go, right? And shake it off and just let the energy, you know, sort of recalibrate. And she's like, well, I think I'd like to have the experience of the doctor. And it's like, okay, let's go. And so we took her to the, you know, the little walk-in clinic. And so, you know, we sat there and waited for like a couple hours, right? Then you get in and the guy, you know, checks, and I go, he's going to tell you, like, it's not right? It's not broken. You know, it's like, maybe it's a strain, maybe, you know, like I could tell exactly. And the same thing, but she needed to have that experience. So they went through and it's like, okay, yeah, I think you maybe just sprained it. Just maybe stay off it for a little. And she, you know, her sister was there too, because she'd never really had that experience either. And they're both going like, so why do people go to the doctor? Like, like, what was the benefit of, you know, doing that? I mean, and then they're like, and you can take this Advil or, you know, Tylenol or whatever. And they're like, we've never taken that in our life. Like, you know, it's, and
it is like that. It is like that. I mean, because the medical system is great in some aspects, but they are limited, and they're limited to what they're allowed to do. And yeah, and I think a lot of medical practitioners and stuff are frustrated about that. They're frustrated because there are people wanting to move into holistic and not remove the medical, but like make it more options available for people.
Yeah.
And a lot of them aren't fully being allowed yet because there's a bit of stubbornness. You know, there's the old ways that want to stay, but nobody wants to take away the old ways. Everyone wants to just improve on the current way. Everyone wants to just add. So, you know, it's just waiting for the stubborn ones to just allow. Maybe they've got to go through that allowing and surrendering. And that elephant, you know, once they can let that go, I think everyone in humanity can rise up for that, you know, in a beneficial way.
I think we're going to see that rapidly shift in the next few years. All these, because through these conversations here at the Global Party, Healing on All Levels, is there's a consistent about trusting, following your inner guidance, getting more connected, you know, realizing the systems as they are, whether it's education, the medical system, you know, they're not working. The birthing system, you know, as Sonia was talking about, right?
Yeah.
And it's that letting go of all this stuff we think we were supposed to do or be or whatever, and allow ourselves to trust and believe that we actually know what we're doing, right? Yeah. Like, it's okay. Our body was designed with this beautiful intelligence to do all these things. Like, I don't have a clue how I even move my hands. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
you can tell me that my brain sends a message, but it just does it. I just breathe. You know what I mean? Like,
yes. You don't need to get too much into the technicalities. You just get into enough of how to create the change that you really want. Yeah, it's very true.
So this must really excite you, this idea that you're unraveling physical pain.
I like it because I've learnt a lot about the body, but in this process, I don't actually have to know too much because the body's actually informing us. So I know that there's connections, but which one do you choose? And you have to muscle test and stuff. But now it's like the body just says, this is the connection. This is what's happening. And you're like, oh, okay. And so I am excited by it because it's actually simplifying my ideas of healing and health. And I think that that's good because, it's for everybody. Everyone can do it. And that's what I think is most exciting. And also giving people back their responsibility, back and connect back to themselves, not relying on the system, relying on me. Right. Connecting back, and I have the power to make the change, and that's what I want people to get to. I have the power to affect change in my life, in my body, and my health, and move forward. So anyway, yeah, it is exciting. I do know you have to go because we ran really, really late.
That's it.
Someone else.
That is like, so I was just going to say, that was a very powerful way to say, right? Like that it's responsibility and take that responsibility. Where can they get a hold of you? It's on the, it was on the link before, but it's not anymore. So it's Invoke Spirit.
Invokespirit.com/pain would be the particular technique, and you can just stalk me through the site.
Okay. So could you put that on this link, because since we don't have it, and I mean, it is, I guess, on the YouTube one that we did before, but we'll get it all sorted out. And then you want to go and find the recording, okay? Because we went much longer on that one. It was so much fun. I would love to talk with you more about this, because I think this is where things are moving to. So thank you for being here and being so persistent in getting this technology to work.
You're awesome. You're like, we're going to make it work. And that's the attitude I think would help too. So I'm going to find a way. I'm going to find the way. I'm going to find what I want and go for it. So, thank you.
I love you. Okay, bye. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.